channel where we talk about history, current events, also fun entertainment news, and basically everything. I don't give a shit, honestly, what you guys think. So I'm going to talk about any interest I have, regardless of what you think. So we'll be all over the place. But I'd like to talk about today the miracle of the House of Brandenburg, Part 3. Moscow edition. So, how the attempted assassination of Trump recently could possibly save Putin and leaves Ukraine in an ominous, foggy future. Alright, so let's get started here. Now, a little bit more about the background of the second miracle of the House of Brandenburg. The miracle of the House of Brandenburg, Part 2, because there was a Part 1, but blah blah blah, it's not important. The miracle of the House of Brandenburg Part 2 was the very foundations of the survival of the Prussian state. After winning many stunning victories through military genius of the monarch leader of the fledgling Prussian state, with Frederick the Great leading victories against an overwhelming coalition of many Central, Eastern, and Western European powers, trying to drown the newfound Prussian state through alliances and coalitions that were seeing mixed success in the beginning due to the professionalism and advanced weaponry, such as much better artillery and cannons, and a pretty good weapon or small arm gun that would be comparable, maybe even a little bit better than most of the coalition small arms. So, but one thing Prussia did not have was enough men to last the coalition, due to the coalition having 3 to 4 times the population of the Prussian state. Now, basically, as time wore on, the military victories Prussia had saw earlier in the war seemed like a distant memory, and was, as time wore on, Prussian military was slowly grinded down to the point where unconditional surrender, or even the dissolution or dissolving of the Prussian state, was a reality, leading to most likely the partitions of the Prussian state, similar to the partition of Poland over many years until it ceased to exist. And now, dire straits. To put it best is a direct quote sourced from the historical literature about Frederick the Great's precarious situation. The Austrians are the masters of Schweidnitz and the mountains. The Russians are behind the length of the Wart from Kolberg to Posen. My every bale of hay, sack of money, or batch of recruits only arriving by courtesy of the enemy or from his negligence. Austrians controlling the hills in Saxony, the Imperials, the same in Thuringia, all our fortresses vulnerable in Silesia and Pomerania, Stettin, Kustrin, even Berlin, at the mercy of the Russians. Basically, they're fucked. And all the coalition is basically at the doorstep or even in the door or house of the Prussian country. At this point, the Prussians, even after historically beating the odds and winning amazing tactical battles and successes, because of their lack of population size compared to the might of the Allied coalition against them in the 7 Years' War, every victory to stalemate was one more nail in the coffin to the Prussian state, who seemed doomed to their brethren, the Poles' fate, as partition seemed very close and a realistic situation for the Prussian state. After partition would slowly but surely would have ended the Prussian state's existence. No army could ever recover from losing over 120 of their most experienced and top performing generals, and over 1,500 of their irreplaceable field officers as well during this conflict and war. Now, oh man, the miracle. So, as all hope was lost, Frederick was on the bounds of possibly suicide, very depressed as he loved his army and soldiers and treated them as if they were his children. All of a sudden, a miracle happened. Then, through the act of the gods of war and fortune, in January 1762, Frederick's mortal enemy, the Empress Elizabeth of Russia, had died on the 5th of January. As quoted by the great Prussian leader himself, the Messalina Ukraina of the North is dead. Morta la bestia, the beast is dead, wrote Frederick on the 22nd of January. Now comes the odd and unexpected replacement for the Queen of Russia, who had just passed. Elizabeth's nephew Peter, a strong fanboy of Frederick, succeeded her to the throne. He swiftly reversed all of Elizabeth's war policies right as they were on the precipice of victory. All he had to do was just continue the policies that were enacted by her. Their armies were in German proper, and for some reason, this fanboy Peter not only switched sides as the Prussians were on their dying last breaths and negotiated peace with Russia with an armistice in March and March of 1762 and a treaty of peace and friendship signed on the 15th of May to the amazement of Europe and the coalition that Russia was a part of, and even Frederick the Great himself. So even Frederick the Great was just like, WTF. So saving the Prussian state, Peter did, and even sent 20,000 troops and switched sides to fight with the Prussians, which was a very unpopular choice within the Russian military, which in the future would be the end of, sadly, Peter's life or fanboy career. Now, Putin's Brandenburg miracle. Beginning with a special military operation to denazify Ukrainian territory, it seemed Russian intelligence painted a very rosy picture to their leader, with all Russian intelligence pointing to a people in Ukraine begging for Russia to replace them from their Ukrainian overlords trying to erase Russian history and language and replace it with Ukrainian language and more of a Ukrainian viewpoint of history, along with declaring Ukrainian the national language, and promoted in schools and academia and promoted even within its common citizens. As the invasion commenced in February of 2022, the facade that the Russian intelligence services had painted to its leader, Vladimir Putin, was shattered by the immediate heavy resistance and strong military response to the special military operation by Ukraine. After minor territorial gains at the cost of hundreds of thousands of casualties, in 2023, the Russians officially made the Luhanks Republic, Republic of Donetsk, and the Zaporizhzhia Oblast, along with the Kherson Oblast, as official territories annexed by the Russian Federation. This has already been ratified, and according to the Russian government, these oblasts previously mentioned now belong to the Russian state as regions of the Russian Federation. Although unrecognized by most of the world, this may change due to the miracle of Butler, Pennsylvania, Putin's own miracle of Brandenburg. But how did we get here? All right, so now as of 2022 through 2024, dragged on with sanctions starting to take effect in Russia, with the dwindling support from many of his allies, and having to turn to pariah states such as North Korea and Iran for help, which surprisingly is quite effective, especially with their massive amounts of artillery from North Korea, massive amounts of drone technology from Iran. It seemed as all hope was lost as the world's leading economies in Europe and America, and even many Asian countries, began to support Ukraine on unheard levels, and with their financial and military advisors and equipment changing the course of what would have been an easy stroll through the park for the Russian army became a nightmare of a quagmire that was swallowing Russian youth at rates not seen since World War I. It seemed there was only one chance to reach Putin's personal goals of keeping the annexed territories they had officially recognized as their own, which, for people unaware, it is the industrial and economic powerhouse of the Ukrainian state, as these is the industrial and economic powerhouse of the Ukrainian state, as these regions accounted for over 50% of the total GDP, even more. As all hope seemed lost, something amazing happened. As all hope seemed lost for Russia and its attempt to gain these territories officially, something amazing happened that changed Putin's fortunes for the better. July 13th, 2024 will go down in history as a major political event that will cause ripples through history that only time can reveal its outcome. Prior to Trump's assassination attempt, it seemed as Biden had the political election all but won, as Trump was fighting not only for victory but the immunity that came from becoming president, as he had many politically motivated criminal charges, 34 felony charges, that many American citizens disagreed with and saw for what it really was: political hit job. Trump's foreign policy has been transparent since day one, if you follow his Twitter or X before it was, I guess, canceled. I didn't know we could cancel First Amendment rights, but with his American first policy, he has made it very clear he will end the war in Ukraine and Russia conflict as soon as elected president by cutting the military aid to Ukraine and forcing both Ukraine and Russia to the bargaining table to resolve and come to a peace agreement. Through speculation and top analyst predictions, with a Trump victory as president, it seems Putin will indeed be able to keep annexed territories that he has already annexed and be able to meet most of his modest goals and war aims, thanks to the miracle of Butler in Pennsylvania. Final thoughts in conclusion. Through unforeseen circumstances, politics and wars are a game of probabilities and an ever-changing luck of fortunes, month by month or even day by day. While this video is meant to show the most likely outcome to this war under a Trump presidency, many things could change from now until November. But as of now, after July 13th in Butler, Pennsylvania, I believe Putin has been saved by a miracle similar to Frederick the Great situation with the death of the Russian monarch Elizabeth. And even though there was no death, Trump's assassination attempt can be seen as a miracle to Putin, as it may have helped him achieve his lower goals of maintaining the annexed by law territories he claims. In my opinion, Russia will get the better end of the deal, but I believe Ukraine, even having lost many men in the defense to maintain their territorial integrity and sovereignty and their goal of keeping all former Ukrainian territory, may have to face the harsh reality that they may need to give up these territories in the pursuit of a forced peace through pressure from the Trump administration. Remember that, but there is a possible and most likely future ending of the war due to recent events, and the likelihood now Trump will most likely win, especially with the turmoil within the Democratic Party, with Biden's poor performance and declining mental health, and the Democratic Party's lack of candidates who could actually beat Trump in the general election. So basically, after this assassination attempt, for those who don't know, basically call an early victory for Trump. And I believe that because of this assassination attempt and because now that independents are now leaning more toward Trump, I think the election is all but over. I don't think the Democrats will be able to find a candidate that would be able to compete with Trump. And this is my honest opinion. Opinions can change, but if you have any comments, like how shitty this PowerPoint was, or if I missed anything, or if you think I'm a piece of shit, go ahead, blast me in the comments. Tell me your opinions, what you think will happen. But this was my first video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Fuck it. I hope you guys didn't enjoy it. This was pretty shitty.